Hi, everybody. Rick DiClemente with Star Self and with Astrology Unplugged. Tonight, we're going to be focusing on the chart of Mr. Trump because he's just everywhere at all times, everywhere you go. And I did a long expose on his chart a year or so ago, but I felt like it would be a very good thing to show you the astrology of Mr. Trump. Not so much an analysis of him, although at the end I'm going to give you my opinion for what it's worth, but we're going to do the astrology of him because this is an astrology course, class, whatever. As I was running into doing his chart, I ran into doing the chart I'd never studied of Mr. George Wallace back in the 60s, if you remember him in his fight for segregation in the South. But it's a fascinating chart, and you'll really be fascinated, Karen, because the chart is all Virgo and all Leo, down the middle. So I'm going to show you that, and then we'll get over to Mr. Trump. Okay, here's the chart of, let's see here. Let's get rid of that one. Okay. Here's the chart of George Wallace. I got to get him back up here. It's really just unbelievable. And you can see how he was an avatar of the moment. See all the Virgo, all the Leo. Sun, Saturn, Moon, Venus. This is an absolute drill sergeant of a drill sergeant of all the drill sergeants. Virgo, 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 Virgo. And what's so fascinating about it is Virgo is the sign of segregation. I don't mean racially. That's secondary. Virgo is the sign of differences. Opposite Pisces is a sign of inclusions, non-discriminating. So what the Virgo talent really is the ability to tell the difference between this and that, this and that. But what happens with so many Virgo males, and this really gets critical, look at this, 1 degree, 1 degree, 1 degree. Now, we do not have his birth time, so this moon could be back in Leo, like at 28, 27. It could be all the way to about 8 degrees of Virgo. But for now, we're looking at a lot of Virgo and Leo. But you see, what's so fascinating about this is when I wrote the chapter about polarities, the most important critical polarity in all of astrology is the polarity between Virgo and Pisces. Because Virgo is the worldly polarity, the differences between this and that, the world of duality. Now, it just goes to show that you put the Virgo influence in there and the male influence in there, and it takes on another connotation, while Pisces across the zodiac is about inclusion and softness and non-discrimination. Well, you put in, you add it to the fact of, I'm about to get a blanket too, Karen. It's cold. You add to the fact that a lot of Virgo men have trouble with emotions, and they try to justify not having emotions, and they try to label people that are emotional as being weak. So you've got Sun, Moon, Saturn, and another planet, I think Venus. All that Virgo there, you sure didn't want to tell Mr. Wallace your sad story and expect any kind of affectionate response. You weren't going to get it. But what's so interesting about it is, look at this. Next to all of this powerful Virgo is all this Leo. Mars, Jupiter, Neptune, Mercury. This man was never wrong. Ever, 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 never. He was never wrong. Okay, and then what's so unbelievable is you take all of this power in these two signs and put them all close together, opposite Uranus. You got Uranus in Aquarius at the last degree. Now, Uranus in Aquarius is somebody who's very, on itself, is somebody who's very idealistic and thinks he is pro-people. So this guy was very pro-people through discrimination. Put it all together. And the reason I wanted to show you this, not on the face of it, I mean, you could study this for years, it's so intriguing, and with his bossy Chiron in Aries, but the day he was in the doorway, you all remember the vision of him blocking the doorway, and JFK and RFK had to send the feds in to move him out of the way to let the first black into the University of Alabama. The day he did that, Uranus was right here. Uranus was at 1 degree of Virgo. This should send chills up and down your spine because that's how great astrology is. Uranus was on his sun, so in his mind, he was letting it out. He had it. He was taking his stance. More power to him because he took his stance, but more power to us because we stopped him. But it's just fascinating how Uranus was right on his sun, and how and what it ended up being was symbolic of the rest of the world uprising against him, the voice for integration. So it's a fascinating chart. I thought I'd mention it to you. Now I want to go into Trump's chart. Now, remember, Trump is a Gemini, okay? And it just shows you how terrible sun sign astrology is. Saying you're a Gemini or a Taurus or an Aries or a Pisces is like saying I'm a Chevy, I'm a Ford, I'm a Toyota. The sun sign really doesn't tell you much. But you have to remember that's your background. That's your canvas that you're going to paint this picture on. And the Gemini, usually Gemini men are very easygoing, they're fun-loving, they're tricksters, they're lighthearted, they're conversant, they're into this, they're into that, they don't take things seriously. So you got to remember that's your basic background. When you have a Gemini, you have to watch out for certain things. So they're naturally kind of evasive, they're naturally talkative, they're naturally spread too thin, but they're not, you got to understand why they're evasive. They're not evasive in a malicious way, basically. They're not malicious in a basic way. Where the elusiveness comes in is you got to remember what their impetus is. And their impetus is, oh, look over here. 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 That's what they're about. And that's how the soul grows from the relatively static sign of Taurus into a bigger world, because the Gemini, ooh, look at this, ooh, look at this, ooh, look at that. Okay? That's also why almost all Geminis look very childlike. They look very childlike. Aries and Geminis, those, especially those two signs, they look very young. Now, if you don't get help to the Gemini chart, it leans towards perversion. It leans towards real escapism. It leans to, I know you got it on videotape, but I didn't really say that. I didn't say that. Denial. Change the subject. Change the subject. Change the subject. Why is that? The reason why is Geminis can't, just like Aquarians, they can't stand being locked down, because to them, their inability to be free to explore is death. I've always used the analogy of the butterfly with a pin through it. That's the death to Gemini, pinning him down. Well, they're just not made for emotion. They're not made for subjectivity. I'm talking generally now. So it's very good when you have a Gemini with a moon in Taurus, a Gemini with a moon in Virgo, moon in Capricorn, some earth. You need some earthiness to hold down the Gemini to get them more balanced. Because we all can be wildly out of balance and we can all be pretty smooth. So you can't tell a lot from the Gemini, but when you look closer, what do you find? The moon, let's get the right chart here. Get rid of Mr. Wallace. The moon is in Sagittarius. Now, I'm not going to go fast. The moon is in Sag, 21, 22. Now, there's an argument about his birth time. We have him at 10:54 in the morning on June 14th of 1946. Other astrologers that are excellent astrologers at rectifying a chart have him born almost 50 minutes earlier. There are lots of arguments, and the reason the arguments are so significant because this Mars placement, if he's born at 10:54, then the Mars is right by the ascendant, and the Mars is very strong in Leo. If he's born according to other astrologers, then the Mars comes down here and it's not as strong. So the critical reason that we're worried about the birth time is the Mars placement. This ascendant, this rising sign, changes every 3 minutes and 56 seconds. The rising sign changes 1 degree every 4 minutes, or every 3 minutes and 56 seconds. So, for now, we're not going to worry about it. We can't really resolve it. We have to go into great debate. But we do know as Mars is in Leo, it's very strong in the chart. I'm going to get to that point. But the point is, the sun is opposite the moon, and the moon is in Sagittarius. It's almost exact full moon. Now, what happens here? Gemini and Sag are so much alike that they trigger each other's worst side. Because on the good side, Gemini and Sag are both very divergent, and they're spread out, and they're trying this, and they're trying that, and they're trying this, and they're trying that. And Susan, don't you worry, because you got a great big Saturn Venus, so it slows down a lot of what I'm saying here. Because I could see you starting to worry over there. Okay. But you got the sun and moon not compensating each other. You've got, they're bringing out the negativity in each other greatly. There's positive too. I mean, it's clear he's a communicator, but this is why he tweets. He doesn't want a mouthful of stuff. Just little snippets, say it, get it over it. Onto this. He wants reports with 9 bullets on it. He wants a report of my upcoming visit to Russia with 9 little statements on one piece of paper instead of 19 volumes of books. This is how Geminis work. They work on little things, little quick facts. He's got Mercury square to Neptune. Mercury square to Neptune. His mind is square to Neptune. Back to Gemini Sag. He cannot slow his mind down. He's very quick. Thinks on his feet. Sag is quite known for putting its foot in its mouth. I think I've seen that once or twice. But Sag and Gemini are both known for what? Oh, I didn't mean that. Oh, forget that. Oh, there's a guy behind a curtain. Ah, forget that guy behind a curtain. Oh, I said that, but I was just joking. Oh, that was just bathroom talk. Oh, that was just a talk with the boys back in the dressing room. Just always disowning what he says. This is a strong Gemini Sag trait. Very strong with both sides. So it triples itself. On the good side, it makes him very casual, kind of freelancing, footloose and fancy free, can think on his feet very quick. It, in and of itself, the sun moon is not real troublesome. We see the beginnings of trouble because we better start seeing something else in the chart that gives him some sanity, locks him down, because just those two things can really flip somebody out. I want to bring you an image of, do you remember? This kind of energy is very common in somebody like Richard Simmons. This is why he's like this. Look at the energy first. Don't think about what they're saying. He's just upbeat and excited, and he's a Cancer, and he's got all the Gemini's head. And that's just how he feels. Nothing wrong with it. That's how he is. Well, this is the same kind of energy Trump has. Similar. Now let's go back and see what else is fascinating. Okay. Right next to the sun, 5 degrees away, is Uranus. Okay, now when Uranus is 5 degrees away from the sun, you're lucky. You don't want it too close. That's comfortable 5 degrees. This gives him brilliance. And Uranus is never steady. He has flashes of brilliance. Then it goes away and it's nuts. Then it's brilliant, then it's nuts. Then it's brilliant, then it's nuts. You can't harness Uranus. It's just too frenetic and powerful, and it's in the sign of Gemini. So now you get this frenetic Uranus, this frenetic North Node, this frenetic Sun, and this frenetic Moon. The brilliance comes through, but it doesn't come through steady. In this case, without a doubt, this man would be served much better if the Sun and Uranus were trine. If they were 4 signs apart and there was a red line between them, you would get much more harmony from Uranus. It would feed itself and its brilliance and its brightness and its great ideas and innovations very smoothly. But when it's conjunct, it's not that way. It's like you're trying not to be wiry, and Wally Cox is on one side of you and Don Knotts is sitting on the other. And everybody's wiry. So this is where people make fun of him, but this is where this quality comes from. And also, this is why, with the Uranus Sun, this is why he insists on doing it his way. There's a really beautiful, valid part of Aquarians ruled by Uranus that's really real and really true, and they got to do it their way. I have Sun the opposite Uranus. And when I have to do it my way, it means I got to do it my way. Not because I don't trust you. I just honor what was given to me, and I honor what's coming through me, and I have to do it my way. That's all. I don't work well with groups. I work well by myself. So, this is another reason that it kind of makes it hard to work in a team. And it kind of changeable all the time. But it also is why I think he enjoys being backed into a corner. Let me think of something tonight. I'll be up 6 o'clock in the morning tweeting, and I'll find a way out of this with something off the wall. Because if anything is off the wall, it's Uranus. Now, there's a healthy off the wall, and there's an unhealthy off the wall. And I think we've seen both. Now, we're just getting started. All right, watch this. So we've got a good handle on the Sun, Uranus, and the Moon. There is no T-square. The Mercury is over in Cancer, and it's not really showing a lot of Cancer traits, except for what is Cancer all about. Cancer is very tender. His Saturn is in Cancer. His Venus is in Cancer. His Mercury is in Cancer. And I want you to treat me fairly. You treat me fairly. And boy, they were just and they were fair. These guys weren't fair. And you ask unfair questions. Yes, it's defensive. But it really is upset when it's not treated fairly. Is a tender part of this person. This guy's a lot more tender than you think. It's just got all that loud Mars and Leo on top of it. But almost every other sentence he talks about, whether it's a country or a person, he talks about being treated fairly or not. Watch and see. Now the Mercury square to Neptune. When it's square to Neptune, you got trouble now, because you've already got a lot of degree of flakiness in this chart. Sun, Moon, Uranus, all in Gemini and Sag. Now you got Mercury square to Neptune. And square to Neptune, oh, your mind just goes off. You talk to people and they just go off. The square is very difficult. The conjunction's difficult. The trine is beautiful, makes you very beautiful and poetic, artistic, but the square is tough, and it makes you, frankly, it makes you, oftentimes, not always, but quite often, it makes you a liar. You just twist the truth. And you give them the truth, you show it on videotape, you show it on paper, they still don't believe it. It just makes you lie. BSing. Used car salesman. Jive. Non-truth. Seeing what you want to see. It also can lead to alcoholism. But it's a very tough aspect because you end up seeing what you want to see instead of seeing what's there. Spiritually, it can be good because you can alter between this world and the other world and see the spiritual implications, but it takes a very strong, stable personality to handle that, and I don't think we have one here. So it's a warning spot in this chart. Let's go back. All right, now you see the fact that the entire chart is a bucket, and over here is the moon. This makes Mr. Trump very moon and Sag. But beyond that, it makes Mr. Trump very lunar. He's very Cancerian. This is where he gets validly this die for the country, the flag is waving, love it or leave it, radical people. If you see your friends, if you've seen your friends through these last few periods that are rational most of the time, but they've got this unbelievable irrational defense of him, is always because they got Cancer and Capricorn. The ones who have Cancer and Capricorns are the ones who defend him. Because he defends apple pie, red, white, and blue, stand for the Star Spangled Banner, etc., etc. Love it or leave it. I'm not going to judge it, but that's how it is. It's a Cancer energy. And when you're real Cancer, oh man, do I got a lot to talk about now. Well, I got to talk about now when you're real Cancerian and it gets out of whack. I'm in the back seat. I'm holding my breath. You're going to take the car where I want you to take the car. I'm not going to breathe. The whole country, the whole world, the whole family is going to spin around me. And that's how it goes. You're going to go around me and you're going to go around me. And I ain't coming up till I'm satisfied, maybe then. And one of the worst signs of the dark side of Cancer is if I ain't happy, you ain't going to be happy either. This is a very, very tough position. I can't answer a lot of questions when I'm in the midst of doing this. I'm going to do what I can. The moon is here or there, but the fact is the moon is this huge in this chart. What does the moon say? You weren't fair to me. You didn't treat me right. I will show you. I will show you. That's the problem with the moon in the sign of Cancer's dark side. It's because, how did I tell you? The United States is lunar. Our problem is not that we want to dominate other countries. Our problem is we're scared to death that another country near us is going to grow up. That's the problem. We're playing whack a country. Whack a country. As soon as you step up Nigeria, whack. As soon as you step up Australia, whack. We will whack you economically. North Korea, whack. It's not that we want to dominate the world. We're just so scared to death that somebody else is going to take power, because it all comes down to one question with cancer. Am I safe? Am I safe? And that really, really is embedded in the minds of all Americans. Am I safe? Am I safe? Am I safe? I don't care what they do. Pass whatever law you want. I want to be safe. It's hard to get out of. Cancer has wonderful, wonderful side too. Very loving, very caring, family, tradition, warm, emotional, very good sides. But when it's out of whack, it's all about me, 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 me. Am I safe? Am I safe? So you got a chart that's really starting to tilt out of control. Because where's he going to get the support for the moon to talk sense to it? When you all have friends like this. I've learned a hard way. When you got a friend that you talk to and you talk to and you talk to and you reason and you reason, you're banging your head and you're getting nowhere, that's because they're a lunar person. They've got a strong moon. They've got strong Cancer energy. They've got the moon in the wrong place. They're lunar, and what they're doing is they're going to pitch a bitch until you solve the problem for them. That's what it means. I'm shooting straight at you. I had to learn as a reader to get back. Suzanne, listen to me. Don't get all involved in, oh, I feel so bad, I want to solve your stuff. No, don't do it. Hold your distance. I care, I'm interested, I'm trying to help, but I'm not going into yourself, because lunar people will suck you in. And you can tell easily after you get through it and figure it out, if you're going on and on and on and on and you can't get anywhere. That's because they're not going to let you get anywhere. They want you to solve it. Anybody have experience like that? People around them? Mm-hmm. And you're just reading from the book. You got the facts, you got the data, you got the right vitamins, you got the right program, you got the right exercise, and they don't care. That's what happens with this chart. Now, when it comes back, Gemini is not a self-reflective sign. It's not an intuitive sign. It's not an introspective sign. And you got Mercury square Neptune. So it comes back and turns the dream into, well, my crowd was a lot bigger than Obama's. Can you see it? I'm not playing that game too. We're just getting started. We're just getting started. This is a phenomenal triplicity. This is a phenomenal stellium of planets that occurred in 1945 and 1946. Possibly the reason that the wars ended. And it was when Jupiter was with Neptune and along came Chiron. And these three beautiful planets, remember, these are your two real spiritual planets, Jupiter and Neptune. They were together in Libra, and Chiron was in the middle. This is where we've gotten phenomenal artistry and musicianship from Stephen Stills, from Van Morrison, from Neil Young, and you wonder, how do these people do this? Just even when Stills picks up his guitar and just hits a couple chords, you could tell it's Stephen Stills' signature. That's from this beautiful, phenomenal spiritual ability that they have. Well, another side of this, these people have tremendous social smoothness. They have tremendous social charisma. You can see that in Trump. He's a salesman. He could sell you anything. He sure sold a lot of people a lot of stuff. Recently, it also gives him the ability to be very socially smooth. Now, you put that on top of this chart, and then the number one problem about the chart, I'm going to tell you about the number two problem with the number one later. The number two problem of the chart is the man is an opportunist. He's an opportunist. He sees everything through the eyes of, what do I get to gain from this experience, from this person, from this law, from this state, from this program, whatever it is. He's got that Sag thing going on, that Sag thing going on. And the Sag is an opportunist, but usually it's not malicious. It's Sag just wants to have fun, to go try something, go get bigger. Let me explore this. But he gets into the monopolization of opportunism, mainly because the Mars is in Leo. So these three planets here, and they are trying to Uranus so he can think of things fast. And you have to wonder, after all the trouble he's had, how does he keep ticking? How does he get these empires built? How does he get these big buildings built? How does he pull it off? All these bankruptcies. That's how. He's just got these smooth energies. Do I think he could turn around? No. Do I think he could turn this chart around? No. I don't think so. Maybe you think so. Maybe some great astrologer thinks so. I don't think so. The bullying energy is very obvious. Comes from the Mars and Leo rising. So we've got an opportunist, we got a thinker, we got somebody who's very self-deluded, very escapist. He does have some, I believe, some valid interest in securing the country in his mind. I don't think he has any idea how the country plays amongst other countries, how it fits in with other countries, because I just don't think he understands things on that scale. Okay, but that's my opinion. But you got the Mars and Leo rising. Now you got to put all that stuff on the back burner. Now you got to consider, what does the Mars and Leo do? And you can see this with George W. What God gave Leos, and it's a very misunderstood sign, as I wrote about it in the book. Leo is not here because they want to brag. Leo's not here because they want the limelight. Leo is not here because they want to do the next Madonna song. Leo is here because they come out of the stage of Cancer. And they're very insecure and they're unsteady. And Cancer is going through an awful lot, but Cancer can't do everything. So in the Leo stage, you are born as Robert De Niro. And you say, hey, you're talking to me? You're talking to me this way? That's the gift that Leo's given. The gift of, you're not wrong, it's you, buddy. And that's a real strong, and that's a major step forward from Cancer. So Leo's about gaining confidence. That's what it's about. That's why you don't mess with him. Leo energy is very powerful. And when it's abused, it's really bad. When it's abused, in my opinion, I've written about this for many years. In my opinion, when you look at the dark side of Leo is worse than all 12. Why? Because they end up believing their own BS. The sky is green. 7 billion on the people on the planet think it's blue. You think it's green? You ain't going to be convinced. You ain't going to change your mind. You're not going to give in. And you're only going to accept people into your foray who are people that think it's green. That's the problem with Leo energy. So it can be a phenomenal and a great energy. It can really save charts that are uncertain and unsteady and ungrounded. You can give them a much needed boost of confidence, like a Pisces needs a moon in Leo. A Cancer needs a moon in Leo. people that are a little shaky can use Leo energy. It can really help. But what Leo does, unfortunately, you saw this with W, when you challenge somebody with Leo energy, they get bigger. When you challenge them with facts, they get bigger. They blow up. What did W say to the UN? Bring it on, bring it on. I got a big army here, bring it on. Stupid thing to say. That's what Leo energy does. And that's why so many great leaders have had great Leo energy, because they're tough. The problem with our leaders is they appear strong. Many of our leaders. Not like Lincoln and FDR. Many of our leaders appear strong. They sound strong. And that's why we get sucked in as a Cancer nation. Oh, I'm so worried. What about me? Well, I don't know what the hell this Goldwater guy's going to do, but he sounds strong, and he's going to raise hell on anybody that steps into this country. So let's vote for him. Reagan, same thing. Nixon, same thing. They sound strong. Hitler sounded strong. That's what you get when you get this fixed energy. They sound strong. Doesn't mean they are strong, but they sound that way. And Trump can really sound strong. So this is why Mr. Trump can't back down. He can't let things go. I once played a card game with a Leo personality who ripped somebody off during the game. It was just that simple and clear. He just ripped somebody off. Cheated. And like 10 hours later, the guy was staying up all night just still obsessing about it. And now if you really took a look at that, I really didn't cheat, you see? They just, when they get off on the wrong energy, they just can't be wrong. And that's the abuse of Leo. And what that does is it shuts down all the good energy. So Leo has to learn that, boy, I am tough, and it usually is your fault. It usually is not me, but they have to learn it. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it is. But that's why we're getting now to the core of the problem of the chart, in my opinion, and I'll show you what it is. All right, let me get my tools, all my pretty tools here, and get all my things in this out. And we'll pick a color. The problem in the chart is right here. Saturn, Venus, 25, 23 Cancer. 23, 25 Cancer. Now, Saturn, Venus is tough. It's common. Saturn, Venus, and Cancer is very tough, because what it is I close myself down emotionally because somebody's going to hurt me. I don't care what you see. I don't care what your analysis is of Trump. Trump's basis of almost everything he does, his look on his face, he's looking for who's the next person that's going to hurt him. Period. He doesn't trust. Now, I can't say what his dad did to him or what his mom did to him. I believe it's probably way back in the past life, but this is the sore spot. This is the sore spot in the chart. Who's going to hurt me next? Who's going to be unfair? Who's going to sneak up on me? Okay? Just loves the word unfair. Now, what's happened is when that bomb goes off of everybody's being unfair, that Mars and Leo reports it. Oh, yeah? Well, let me show you. You don't think I will? You don't think I will? Where's the button? You don't think I will? I will. That's why I warned you 3 months ago about the 18th of November, because Mars and Pluto are squaring each other again, a degree away. Mars, Pluto. The Pluto issue, you know what that is. nuclear weapons in Iran and North Korea and all that. Well, you know what Mars does? And Mars has been tightening. And now when it gets a degree away on Saturday, we'll hope for Sunday, we'll hope for Monday and get past it. This is why you've heard these people trying to change the Congress so they get more control over his finger on the button. Because in his mind, in the Cancer Leo world, everybody has screwed me so bad. Everybody has screwed me. I will show you. I will have the last word. That's why it's dangerous. That's why it's dangerous. He's got the perfect outlet through Twitter. And what they do now? They doubled the size, so now I can talk twice as much. But in Twitter, he can put his little comments out, and he can do all this and that. But, you know, when you back up and you zoom back and you zoom back and you zoom back, what do you see? You see 2015. And in 2015, Jupiter and Neptune were opposite each other. And I knew we were in for trouble. And I wrote about it, and I told you about it 2 years ago. Are you going to go with Jupiter, Neptune, and inspiration with Mr. The things that were coming out of Bernie's mouth about working together, healing all people? Or are you going to go with the dream and the cult of Trump? Now what's happening, the people that went with the cult of Trump, now Jupiter and Neptune is starting to separate. And what happens when the cult starts to separate? You go, where in the hell was I? How could I possibly have taken it in? What happened there? That's what happens when the Neptune fades. You've been taken. Oh, they're going to get a tax cut. We're going to get a tax cut. They're taking that money and put it right in their pockets. And I'm not saying I'm pro-Hillary because I'm not. I'm not. I'm anti 95% of the politicians out there. Yeah, I know what they pushed through today. I know what they pushed through today halfway. You know, Americans don't want to wake up. They don't want to see what's there. We want to keep our head buried in the sand. It's changing now. When does the Neptune fade? Well, the Neptune fading is a very important question, Suzanne, because what happened, remember, we don't know the United States birth time, but given the one that most of us use, Neptune has been right here for the last several years. It started with the weapons of mass destruction, and it came till now, and it's squaring the ascendant. And when Neptune squares the ascendant, nobody knows what's what. You don't know what's real anymore. You don't know who's raping who. You don't know who's telling the truth, who's telling the lie. All this stuff's coming out of everybody's fondling everybody. All this stuff's coming out of the woodwork with Jupiter and Scorpio. But while the Neptune was all over us in the past couple of years, we were sold a bill of goods. And the bill of goods was very clear. One, do you want to go with somebody like Bernie? Doesn't have to be Bernie. Somebody like him, which means do you want to face the facts and start to repair the problems? Or two, do you want to go with somebody with his dreaming with BS? And what do you think the people chose? The dreaming with BS. And he also provided this wonderful opportunity. Everybody get on board with my Mars and Leo, because I'm going to show them I'm going to clean this swamp. I don't think so. So that's what happened. So as the Neptune has been separating, we're starting to become clearer. But what we're starting to see, and it's typical Neptune, we're starting to see that America is losing its power, period. And at the same time all this is going on, the Pluto in the America chart, Pluto's gone all the way around and it's returning. 250 years later, Pluto's gone all the way around. It's returning while Neptune is moving on. So some of us are getting it. Some of us are trying to be politically correct and honest and face the facts and move forward. And some of us are trying to run back and say, we want things the way they used to be in the good old days. So I told you I'd give you my opinion of this chart at the end, and I'm going to do that. And as follows. In my opinion, he is an astounding opportunist. In my opinion, he only cares about two people in the world, himself and his daughter. I could be wrong. That's my opinion. He has a sickness, which is why he has to go back to the South and have his rallies. They're like getting a shot in the arm. His rallies boost his ego, and he can say his hateful things, and people come out of the woodwork and they cheer for him and they augment his ego. And when they don't, what does he do? He throws them out of the meeting. Throw them out, throw them out. Now, you may have liked or disliked Mr. Obama, but at least Obama was civil. Mr. Kennedy was civil. The Bushes were civil. All the presidents we have pretty much were civil. What are you hearing? What are you hearing worldwide? You're hearing the same thing over and over. But the story ultimately is not about Mr. Trump. The story is, why did we buy such a thing? That's the story. Why did we buy it? Because our cancerness, we wanted somebody to save us. And somebody's going to go beat up Wall Street. Somebody's going to beat up and clean up that swamp in D.C. Sounding awful good. And frankly, I think one of the biggest reasons that people went pro-Trump is because it gave them a safe outlet for their own hatred and bigotry. If you call that a safe outlet. And I'm not waving somebody above him that's better, because we're in deep doo-doo. We don't have a lot of good leaders. We don't have a lot of good people to model after. Hope that God will start to find them. But we need to take this lesson. And if we don't, we're going to disintegrate. I am going to shut off the YouTube for now so we can talk. And it might end up being a war for 30 minutes. I don't think so. But I want to know, before we get into talking about Trump, I want to know your thoughts of the chart, because we're trying to do this astrologically. Thank you all that tuned in on YouTube for watching. So bye tonight from all the unpluggers.